Hello and welcome to this week's program of the Rotary E-Club of Silicon Valley. Each week we connect with and hear from fascinating and inspirational speakers, often with a message focused on in our interest of innovation, entrepreneurship, and education. And we always are looking for ways that these programs might foster new approaches in improving our communities near and far. And we're glad that you've joined us today, and really I'm excited about today's speaker because I feel like that concept of innovation, entrepreneurship, and education is exactly what Ethos Labs is about. Antonia is going to tell us all about that today. With that, I'd like to welcome Antonia to the recording.
Hi, and good morning, everyone. My name is Anthonia Ogundele. I'm the founder and executive director of Ethos Lab. I'm going to get this started the way we get all of our labs started with a little bit of music. And so I'm just going to play the Ethos Lab theme song, maybe just a portion of it, just to get us loose and ready for this presentation. So give me 1 second here. Can you hear that? Don't take technology for granted. We make the social fabric from Pacific to Atlantic, yeah. Co-create, cooperate, celebrate, activate a youth co-working space. Don't take technology for granted. We make the social fabric from Pacific to Atlantic, yeah. Co-create, cooperate, celebrate, activate a youth co-working space. COVID-19 on the scene got me stressing, straight testing the team. Some clash, fear an economic crash. Isolated, stay connected, hope it doesn't last. So people may not have a safe space. Home can be a challenge to face. Find some support in your networks, keeping our community in place. Don't take technology for granted. We make the social fabric from Pacific to Atlantic, yeah. Co-create, cooperate, celebrate, activate a youth co-working space. Thank you so much. That song was made by Ndidi Cascade, an amazing hip hop artist, and her niece, who was part of the Ethos Lab community that came together before the pandemic, last year, or just actually in the beginning of it, when all the young people shared what are the different things that they're thinking about, all the things that they're concerned about when it comes to creating a new digital community. And we, as an organization, had launched at the end of February of last year in front of 100+ friends and family in Telus Gardens here in Vancouver, British Columbia. And then COVID-19 hit, and we asked the young people, what might a digital community look like to you? And so that song was inspired by what it might look like to create that creative co-working space in a digital space. So I am not just a founder and not just the executive director. I'm also a mom. I'm also an extremely curious individual and someone who has been a career emergency planner for a number of years. So, what a time for me to leave my job in disaster planning. But because I noticed there was another disaster that was happening, and that was the deep inequality and deep inequity in terms of accessing STEM exploration. And so, I'm just going to share my screen. And I've got a little bit of a deck to share with you about who and what Ethos Lab is. I'm going to start off just very frankly in terms of the details because there's so much to the richness of our community. But Ethos Lab at a glance, we're an after-school program that's focused on youth between the ages of 13 to 18, and all youth are welcome to join our community. We're based in Vancouver, and our activities currently take place virtually. We leverage Zoom, Discord, and as well as virtual reality, a web VR environment called Hubs by Mozilla. And we also have a physical space in Surrey, and we're looking at launching a Vancouver location in the fall. So that's just a very high level nuts and bolts. But now I'm going to really get into the heart of it. And I really appreciate the invitation to be here, Nick. It means a lot to be able to share this community with you all. And so, our purpose statement is that Ethos Lab exists to empower youth to transform community and shift culture. And as a parent, I realized that there was a problem that I was hearing from a number of other parents on the schoolyard. And that was around accessing just enrichment programming in general. But there were a couple of key things. That there was limited access to in terms of relevant STEM options. So when I say that, I mean that every young person has access to science, technology, engineering, and math. But when it comes to innovation in STEM, they're often young people are invited to, or they are need to apply for, really accessing some great, design thinking, emerging technologies, really great tools and resources. And we saw that that was a gap with what parents were able to access. That finding programming just took a lot of time, and they were spending a lot of time trying to find these things. That programming was also very costly, whether it be the STEM pieces or whether it just be programming in general. And then when it comes to it being a flexible option for parents, there was a stigma associated with kind of drop-in programs that would allow parents to access these things. So I thought to myself, well, there was also a bigger issue that we needed to address when I come back to the STEM piece, is that Black youth are underrepresented in STEM fields, as are girls, and girls are obviously a part of the Black youth population. As I thought about it as a parent with a Black child, and it's actually not a programming problem, and this is a thesis we're working through. I mean, there's a lot of options, tons, as I said, a lot of them out there, but it's actually a culture problem that is either not sustaining Black youth in these different spaces, or also interrupting the pipeline. So we're here at Ethos Lab to build a future that includes everyone. And so how we're doing that, and this is who we are. We are starting an innovation academy where we provide youth members access to emerging technologies, a community of innovators, and we leverage a digital collaborative platform as well as physical space to do that. We provide skills, tools, and varying experiences to provide youth, again, the opportunity to create the future that they want. What we see is a need to be able to communicate and make STEM more accessible to all young people. And so what we do is we leverage culture as a vehicle to access STEAM exploration. And because we believe that it's important that youth are creators versus consumers. And you can see that there are a lot of these different types of innovative spaces all around the world, but they're usually targeted specifically for adults, with very few there, especially here in the Vancouver context and in Canadian context, that are accessible solely for youth. And our approach, as we talk about creating a more inclusive future, our approach centers the humanity of the Black experience. And so that means that we create an experience where Black youth feel respected, reflected, and protected and connected. Because we believe when you center underrepresented communities, you're actually creating a more inclusive environment. But what's really important about that is that the empathetic and active participation of non-Black youth is essential in creating these different spaces. And so it really is about creating an inclusive community where everyone respects each other's ideas. A young girl can see herself reflected in the leadership, to also seeing people of various different cultural backgrounds. And so, I mean, I've talked about the STEM that we focus that we are embarking on, but the young people also see us in a very interesting way. And so we ask them, when you tell people about Ethos Lab, what do you tell them? Well, what they say is it creates opportunities that they wouldn't have been given in any other programs. The other way that they've described it is that it gives them confidence. It's a place where I can do things I never thought I could. That it's a positive and safe environment where they can come together and share their feelings. And it's really a place where they can come and collaborate, where they can meet new friends and also work on projects. And so this is a photo of all the young people. This was a picture that we took around this time last year when we did a hackathon, which was sponsored by Microsoft and in partnership with Urbanarium, to again think about what it might look like to create a digital community. We have 3 pillars to our core delivery model. We do programming, and workshop, which is creating a relationship in community with each other and skills development. So a couple of weeks ago, we did a great workshop with Blender and 3D modeling, and had the young people create their own virtual worlds. We've also done workshops on video game design, sustainability, nutrition and sports. It's kind of been a number of different activities. We also do project-based mentorship, which is a little different from your regular mentorship relationship. What we do is we pair professionals and young people together to actually collaborate on a project together. And they do that for a concentrated amount of time. And what that does is not only give a young person something that is produced out of it, but it also creates a different type of relationship when you have an adult and a young person like working on a problem together. That was inspired by a 12-year-old artist and an older artist. They got together and created an amazing mural in our virtual space. The other thing is that we create connections between families and friends, and that's where events and experiences come in, where we run two events a month, where we and they're family friendly, where we come together to support bridging the digital divide. So we did do a workshop on avatars and identity. And what we found is that parents don't actually understand or know what avatars are. And so we do an event that explains and provides those conversations for parents to be a part of, as well as we make it really fun. And we typically have a musical performance that's a part of it. I just want to share this very quick video of Kayla's experience. We partnered with Cortic Technology, which is a local education firm that's supporting young people in learning how to code in artificial intelligence, because we believe, in particular, when we look at the Black community, bias in AI is a huge issue. And so what does it mean to be able to take control and understand how the backend works? So I'm just going to share a video here. Okay. Good.
My name's Kayla, I'm in grade 7. Well, when I grow up, I do want to be a scientist and engineer for robots. We were coding like facial recognition and text-to-speech. And I like how it was easy to plug it in. Some other things are really hard, on other softwares. The part I like the most about it is when the thing is done, where you put all the blocks and then you get the results. That's just cool. For some people that don't get to experience it, I think I'm really lucky. And hopefully other people one day get the chance.
So that's Kayla, and Kayla's literal goal in life right now is to create a robot dog, and it's our goal to make that happen for Kayla. And and it's herself and her brother are part of our program, and that's usually and there are a number of people that are like that inside of our community. So as I mentioned, here are some of the family-friendly events, and with our workshops that we do, it's the lab. We call it the lab, and so that's where I said at the beginning we play music at the beginning of the lab to introduce it. But that is our weekly series where we meet with the young people every Tuesday from 4:30 p.m. to 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So anyone around the world, if you are available, they're more than welcome to join us for those times. We also do an open studio on Thursdays and Saturdays, and that's an opportunity for them to put into practice all the stuff that they learn on the Tuesdays. And it's also just a time where they're able, if they wanted to pull together a game of Among Us. And so we've had a number of successes, and up on the screen is a quote from one of the parents who shares that her child has really benefited from being a part of the community, and that she sees herself represented in the leadership. This is a young Black child. She also is just, I know personally from this particular story that there have been a number of different challenges in the young person feeling included or a part of their community. And so the child has really seen Black excellence in many different ways, not just in the leadership of the Ethos Lab community, but in the other mentors and people that we bring into the community as well. So since we launched, we've had a number of people participate in all of our different workshops. So over 100 people have been engaged, to now having 97 families that are a registered part of our community. We've launched our virtual space, and as well as we launched our Surrey space. Surrey is a city just outside of Vancouver, and we do a number of our different workshops there. So the artificial intelligence workshop was in that Surrey location, but we will be launching a physical location soon in Vancouver. So this is a photo of the virtual space, which was conceptualized in a hackathon by the young people. It's Atlanthos, an underwater virtual basketball arena. And so there we're able to throw events, we're able to hang out, we're able to watch videos, play tag, and many different things, all within a virtual environment. I could have never come up with the concept of Atlanthos, and I think that's just a testament to the creativity. We had a local tech startup here, Active Replica, that supported in creating this, and now we've actually deepened our relationship with Active Replica, and they're providing 2 internships to high school students that are part of the Ethos Lab community, and we intend on deepening that relationship as well. And so this is an image of our physical space. It was renovated as a part of Holmes Family Effect. It was a television show that aired a number of weeks ago. So if you have access to Fox in the States and go on to their website, it was bought by them. So you will be able to see it there, but for us, it's global. And then this is where we're going, is we are creating our own physical space. It's a dedicated hack space with our own physical Ethos Lab, which again, we're excited about. And also we will be piloting a hack space in partnership with Maker Labs. And I definitely don't do this alone. There are a number of awesome members of our community. And Nigel is our program director and most directly engaged with the young people, who's a teacher in the Vancouver School Board, but has taken part-time in order to dedicate time to be able to build Ethos Lab. We have a recent UBC grad who is his own startup founder, an augmented reality startup, who's helping us with our UX UI and in terms of updating our website, and Ndidi Cascade, who's our cultural curator, who you heard the music. We have a list and a diverse set of advisors who are part of this work, and a great board that's been supportive. So this is just a quote from one of our main supporters. She's a Science World Scientist sponsor, and she shared the quote here around the need for spaces like Ethos Lab that champions inclusion, but also allows for diversity of knowledge at the table. So we really appreciate Dr. Love Essie Chili in the work that she does around sustainable plastics, but also has done a lot of work in creating more inclusive STEM spaces. And she has a lab, her lab, where you can see the image, is adjacent to the physical space. So we really do see ourselves as an ecosystem and connecting young people in as a part of resources. So there are a number of different ways to be involved. We've just finished our Black Futures Month fundraising campaign, but there's still an opportunity to give. But again, if you are a young person between the ages of 13 to 18, we really welcome you into the community. We want to provide an experience that is consistent across the digital and physical space, because we believe that there's no actual difference anymore. We operate at the intersection. And so what we're doing is trying to build a community that operates there to provide not only the tools and skills and resources for the kids, but then the community, and also fostering the confidence, emotional intelligence for them to be able to thrive, whichever space they choose to occupy. So that is the end of my presentation. That's who Ethos Lab is. I'm, again, really thankful for this opportunity and welcome any questions.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that great presentation. I love it. Before we get into the questions, which I know there are a lot of, and one of the advantages of coming to our recordings live is that we will probably have lots of questions after the recording too. I want to introduce the people on the call today. We've got myself sitting in Vancouver with you, Anthonia, and then we've got Kelly sitting in Munich, and then we actually have a very strong California contingent today with Sandy, Cal, Rushton, Farheen, Armand, Shags, and Cecilia, all in the Bay Area. Too many places to count because it's a large area, just like you clarifying Surrey today. If you're not from Vancouver, you might not know where Surrey is, but similarly, I didn't know where Walnut Creek was until I met Shags. So, so with that, I think Farheen had the first question.
Antonia, thank you so much for your absolutely wonderful presentation. The video of Kayla, oh, so precious. So thank you for sharing that with us. My question for you is, how do you find mentors for the youth? I mean, I know that you have, a page where someone can find you and submit it, but do you also do kind of targeted outreach? How do you find these mentors?
You know what? It's actually been quite a blessing where people have really approached us in many ways. So we have a lot more mentors than mentees per se. So that's been the primary way. I've been a professional for a number of years, and so I actually have quite a bit of a network. So I've often managed to pull people in that I know in order to support in mentorship. But just again, I think that there's a lot of opportunity with different businesses where they've said they want to come in and provide the mentorship and support us. So, yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very cool. And I think Sandy had the next question.
Yes, thank you for your presentation, Antonia. It was like super interesting, and I'm a geek too, so it's like I would love to have had a program like that when I was in, school. Sorry. And my question is, how do you choose who's going to be in your program, or so you have the diversity that you want?
You know what's really interesting? I'll just kind of give a bit of just kind of from my experience, being a Black parent, is that when it comes to creating an anti-racist environment or an inclusive environment, I have no choice. If I want my child to be there and feel comfortable, it's not a policy decision. It's not it's like, how do you create the space that actually would be best suited for my child? And so when you kind of decenter the dominant culture around white supremacy, around capitalism, and all those different pieces, we have a majority of girls, it's majority Black, but it's open to all young people. And so it's actually come into people who want to be in community with one another and feel like their diverse voices can be heard, that are just being drawn to it. So there's no selection. It's really who's interested, and then they've actually come. And so we have a young person who just got into computer science at Harvard, which we're super excited about. I know. I was like, yes, Yobi. But then we also have other people who are actually participating on their phones in a Tim Hortons, and you're just like, across the board, everyone is welcome. But I also think it's really important when we do think about access to innovation in STEM, not only just thinking about the cultural diversity, but I think that there is a deep need for the economic diversity, even within the Black community, to be able to interact with one another.
Thank you.
Cool. Cal, I think you might have had the next question.
Yes, thanks for the presentation. It was really inspiring, and I'm a Bellingham guy, so it's nice to know that there's something great happening above the border. My question has to do with the actual sessions themselves. It sounds like they're quite diverse offerings and that they probably have been evolving over time. Can you give us an example, just kind of overview of what one session might look like in terms of how many kids would be in it? Is there just one facilitator? Are they self-facilitated? And is it highly structured? Is it partially structured? Is it completely free form? How does it work?
Yeah. thank you so much for the question, because we are working with UBC, University of British Columbia, Vancouver Film School, and Simon Fraser University to really work on tightening up our curriculum design and curriculum and instructional design. But the way it works so far, or how we've structured it, is we do want to have that strong skills focus development, right? So, but we want to also build that foundation first, in which, or the context in which they're learning those skills. So for example, or not even for example, this is the way we usually structure it. It's an hour and a half. For 30 minutes at the beginning, it is a culturally contextual conversation that we have with the young people. So for example, the avatars and identity has been, has been a really great example of this, where the first part, we talked about race, we talked about who we are as people, what does ethnicity mean, what does discrimination, what is white supremacy, and talk about these really big kind of topics. Because when you come to creating your own avatar and you're creating your identity in digital space, it's important to understand where these different ideas are coming from. So when a young person is like, okay, I'm going to create my avatar and I put blonde hair, there's a context and an understanding of how your digital and physical identity intersect. So after the first 30 minutes of those deep conversations, we do an hour. And there's, again, tons of resources out there, and which is quite difficult for people to access or sift through. And so we do curate, teachers, programs, curriculum from other areas to then create that. So we work with Vancouver Film School. They identified someone who would be able to help with 3D modeling, and then taught the kids how to create 3D models of their avatars. And so that is how it is typically structured. One other beautiful example is that we were doing, we had them working in SketchUp and doing also some sculpting as well in a 3D modeling space. And here in Vancouver, there's an area called Ogundele, which is a historically Black community, and which is currently undergoing some redevelopment and revisioning. And when you think about who's going to be in this space when it's actually built out, it's going to be the kids in Ethos Lab. And so the educator, who was white, understanding the ethos of our organization, contextualized the building development on that land. And that's how you start bridging in these ideas around inclusion, around Black history, with it not necessarily needing to be its own standalone section, but you just integrate it right into the learning. And so we did something very similar to that, and we continue to try and merge the different ideas as what I would call it is conscious creating as well. So that's what a structure looks like on a regular Tuesday. And then on the Thursdays, it's on Discord, which is basically kind of a free-for-all. We have one facilitator in there. So the program director leads all of these different spaces, and then we would have support. We've started to identify youth as some leads to support and do some peer support as well. And so on Discord, we either open up different channels the kids want to participate in, but there is that one open studio channel where if we've done 3D modeling on Tuesday, a young person will come in and say, hey, I didn't really understand what you did on Tuesday. Can you go through it with me? And then they work through it together, or they work on a brand new project altogether. And most recently, what's really started to emerge is that peer connection, where if they all don't, like if there's a group of them that don't understand, then they'll go into a break-off space and just like figure it out together. So we want to be able to foster that culture of collaboration.
Love it. I really thank you for all this detail. I know there's actually a lot more questions. We do try and keep the recording to about 30 minutes, so I want to call it there, but I want to emphasize for anybody who's watching this now, reach out to me at secretary@siliconvalleyrotary.com, because if you want to join one of these live recordings, it's such a wonderful experience. So please do. And we'll all ask questions after we stop the recording. But for now, I'd like to just encourage everyone who's enjoyed the program to let us know what you think. there is a discuss section below the meeting page where you can type in your comments and questions, and we'll make an effort to reply to that, and I'll let Antonia know when this is live so that she can actually respond directly too. And for members and Rotarian guests, make sure that you fill out your attendance section. It helps us know about the reach of our efforts and serves as a makeup for missed meetings. If you put your email address in properly, you'll get a message that you can pass along to your club secretary for the makeup. And as always, I really am thrilled to have Antonia here, and I'll give her the final word.
Again, thank you so much, Rotary community, for having me here. I do invite all of you who are watching this recording and also in this room, if you have any young people between the ages of 13 to 18, more than welcome to join. So I definitely invite that. Go to www.ethoslab.space. But to the question of mentorship, if anyone is interested in mentoring, feel free to go to our webpage and get involved. And we are in a space right now where we are raising funds to support the movement to our location, which we are optimizing for digital engagement. So if you have the capacity, we would love if you could give. So thank you so much again for your time.